Mother Sticklebacks lay their eggs and leave. Then Father Sticklebacks guard the eggs. They stay awake all the time to protect the eggs and sacrifice their own life to guard the eggs. There is a novel based on the story of Sticklebacks. The father and mother lived together and had a son, but they divorce and the mother leaves the son. The father is a poet and he is raising his son alone, who is sick with leukemia. Most of poets are poor, so is this father. Besides, since the child has leukemia, the hospital bills are so expensive that he must not only nurse his son, but also work. Every time when the son sees his father smoking, he thinks, Dad seems to be short on money to pay all the medical expenses. Dad smokes whenever he's in trouble. I wish Dad didn't smoke. However, the problem was not just money. The son's condition was getting worse and the chances of survival were decreasing. The bills were keep piling up and his son was dying as time passes, making everything seem hopeless. If this father had only one wish, it would be to see his son healthy again. However, one day, the doctor delivers a despairing news to the father. He says that the chances of his son surviving are very low, and the only way for his son to live is through a bone marrow transplant, which is impossible now. So the father decides to take his son on one last trip. Actually, his son's wish was always to go on a trip with his father. The father buys a very old used car, brings the car to the hospital, and he tells his son that they will go on a trip. His son was so touched. The father's only wish is to make his son happy. They began their trip, and the two spent a very happy time like a dream. But suddenly, the son collapses during the trip, and the time that was like heaven turns into hell because his leukemia got worsened. So the father decides to go for a bone marrow transplant as the last option. As they try to proceed with the surgery, the mother who left the child appears. She appears in fancy clothing and says that she will pay for the entire surgery. The father refuses to receive the money, telling her that he will save his own son and that she doesn't need to worry about it. However, the problem is that the father doesn't have any money for the bone marrow transplant. Since the cost of the surgery is enormous, the father struggles for a long time to find a way to raise the money by himself. Eventually, he decides to sell one of his own kidneys, which is illegal. For this, the father goes to get a checkup, and he receives the shocking news that he has cancer. He cannot sell his kidney anymore. The father, who had been slowly taking care of his sick son day and night, didn't even realize that he himself had gotten cancer. The father becomes deeply distressed because he cannot sell his kidney. However, he discovers that he can sell his cornea and eventually raises the money for his son's medical expenses by selling his own cornea. Now he can finally save his son's life. The dad, who hadn't seen his son for days, appeared with a white eye patch on his eyes. The son thinks to himself, I haven't seen him for a few days. Where has he been? And what is the white eye patch for? He worries that his father's eyes might be hurting. After the successful surgery and the recovery of his son, the father now plans to entrust his son to his mother. The father lies in a van, thinks about his son. I saved my beloved son with all my strength, but I don't want to show my painful appearance to my son because I hope my son to live a little more comfortably. The fact that he cannot be with his son, who has now finally recovered, breaks the heart of the father, and he goes to meet his son for the last time in a dark and gloomy bench where his appearance cannot be seen clearly. He goes with all his remaining strength. His beloved son walks towards him from afar, but the father shouts not to come closer. The son is so eager to see his father. However, he is surprised by his father's words. The father tells his son that he will be living with his mother, that he will have a new life, that he won't be able to see his father again. He tells him that he must live bravely from now on. Hearing this, the son bursts into tears and asks why he can't be with him when the moment he has always been dreaming of, meeting him in good health, has finally come. No matter how much the son asked, the father couldn't answer, and in the end, the son left. After sending his son like that, he collapsed on the spot, and the father closed his eyes. That was the father's final moment. Until his last moment, until the moment when all the embers of life were extinguished, the father burned all those embers for his own son. The father devoted his whole body to give his son a new life. He did it so that his son could start a new life. Novak Djokovic, the world's greatest tennis star, once spoke about God like this: I thank God every day for the gifts He has given me, and for the strength and faith He has instilled in me to pursue my dreams.